Please make yourself comfortable in your seat. I'm trying to rearrange the blanket under me on this hard floor. And we'll settle into our morning yoga practice. Ah, and if sitting really doesn't feel comfortable to you today for some reason, you have a hip issue or scoliosis, then feel free to stand or even lie down. Let's rock the torso forward and back. And feel into your sit bones, side to side, and make sure that they feel even. One doesn't feel tucked more closely into midline. And if it does, rearrange your sit bones a little, pulling them out and back at a diagonal to create a wider base to your pelvic floor. And then we rock forward to back to become conscious of where we place our pubic bone and our tailbone in association with each other. And we balance the rock so that the pubic bone and tailbone are well aligned. And on an exhale, see, can you relax your shoulders and outer body? And invite the breath to fill you, lifting the heart, lifting the skin, moving up the torso. And as you exhale, relax the outer body. Fluid breath. We tune into the breath by turning inward, which is one of the 8 limbs of yoga, pratyahara. And then we concentrate on the pranayama practice. This is another limb, concentration, dharana. The breathing practice itself is a third limb of the 8-limbed practice. Ashtanga means 8-limbed practice. It doesn't mean a very specific vinyasa flow, but it was adopted by Pattabhi Jois to name his form of yoga. So we settle in, practitioners of yoga, into the 8-limbed practice. And as we settle, we may choose a yama or a niyama that means something to us today that we'd like to concentrate our energies on. The ones that have been coming up for me recently are the practice of santosha, contentment, the practice of Ishvara Pranadhana, surrender. For me, surrender used to be hard because I thought I made it equivalent to giving up, to surrendering to forces I don't agree with. But this type of surrender is well beyond that. It's surrendering into the ananda, into the divine energy that flows through all beings. For me, it takes the development of trust that it's there. It takes trust in my Jnana Maya Kosha, my wisdom body, to surrender. To invite the energy in, to relax my fears and anxieties enough to step into the current. This desire to surrender is woven together with tapas, the desire to unfold into my unique full blossom, to not hold back. This takes for me the practice of ahimsa, nonviolence, learning to be kind and gentle with myself so that I may be more fully kind and gentle with others. This takes a cleansing of mind and heart, saucha, to practice truthfulness, satcha. And our practice is here to allow us self-study, svadhyaya. I haven't named them all, but you can choose whatever you want to focus on today. Whatever personal or ethical principle will help you lead your life, feeling more grounded, more open, more yourself. Breathe deep into this center, into this self. I want to share a poem this morning by Dana Falds. Who you are. Who you are is so much more than what you do. The essence shining through heart, soul, and center. The bare and bold truth of you does not lie in your to-do list. You are not just at the surface of your skin, not just the impulse to arrange the muscles of your face into a smile or a frown, not just boundless energy or bone-weary fatigue. Delve deeper. You are divinity, the vast and open sky of spirit. It's the light, the ember at your core, the passion and the presence, the timeless, deathless essence of you that reaches out and touches me. Who you are transcends fear and turns suffering into liberation. Who you are is love. Dana Falls. Invite the breath to reach all of who you are today. The breath to touch deeply into liberating, to grounding, to supporting. Your unique member being of this community. Let's inhale our hands to our hearts. May we be fully present in our practice today. And may the practices guide us towards a little more awakening each day. Namaste. Okay, let's come to standing. The light is again shifting. I feel it moving differently behind the trees in the early morning. Let's flow gently side to side, foot to foot. And as we do, let's see what tension we can release in the upper body. Really trying to let the fingers and the wrists and the elbows go. Let the shoulders move in ways that open them. Remembering that we are 70% water in our physical form. Let yourself become that fluid, able to go with the flow. To face whatever challenges come your way. And then ground the four corners of each foot and inhale. Circle the arms up overhead and circle them down. And feel your feet on the floor. These feet are sense organs. Let your feet feel the floor beneath you. Grow your roots as your arms rise. And remember, we don't have to begin with 100% of effort. We can move with slow and fluid ease, awakening to how the motion impacts us. And then we inhale, float the arms up the other way. And we invite ourselves to practice ahimsa, nonviolence first with ourselves, not demanding too much. Noticing the voices or thoughts that critique us. Holding them tenderly, but not letting them dictate the day or the life. Hands rest down by your core and inhale. Imagine they're holding the full moon rising. And exhale, let your arms go. Let the exhale be a quick expelling of air. Inhale through your nostrils and exhale. Let the arms stretch open and hug your hands over the moon and let them rise and let go. And then let your arms spin gently around the torso. Really try to release each finger and the thumb. Let them go for the ride. See if you can let go in the wrists and the elbow. These joints do so much work for us during the day. Let them rest in traction. Create some space inside them. The practice of ahimsa. And notice, can you be content here in a gentle twist? Fluid breath in this moment of your day. Becoming aware of your level of contentment. The practice of santosha, We can bring our front hand up to tap the lung and our back hand up to tap the kidney. And if that doesn't feel good, don't do it. Opening the meridians of energy inside the body. Still nursing a shoulder injury. My arm doesn't want to do that. My kidney. Fluid breath. And then swing back to center. And let your arms float off to the left and off to the right. And let your opposite foot come off the ground. Feel how your spine sways over your pelvis to keep you balanced and centered. That our body does this so much during the day to help us stay upright, stay fluid. If you run your tongue along the roof of your mouth, you can find the center pellet. Float it above the heart and above the pelvis, and then feel how it moves in a circular motion in a C curve to keep you balanced. And come back to your middle mountain pose. And inhale, lift the arms and root the feet deep into earth as you stretch the fingers and thumbs for the sky and open the palms. Invite energy from sky in through your palms, energy from earth in through the palms of your feet. And stretch the left hand higher as you root the left foot and then the right side. And inhale the stretch and exhale the release. And invite the fascia in your body to open. Breathe into the space of who you are. And then from the pelvic core, root both legs, reach both hands skyward, lift the heart. And relax your arms. And roll your left shoulder up, down, and back, up, back, and down. Fluid motion again, remembering we are water, we are earth, we are sky. Letting them meld inside of us. What is your picture of what you want to grow into? This helps us settle into the practice of tapas. You are the artist, you are the clay, you are the action between artist and clay. Pause again in mountain pose. Come back to your three-dimensional breath. Feel the lower belly, the low back, the waistline. Invite the breath deep inside the body. Invite the breath to be three-dimensional and to move with the diaphragm. Feel the whole circle of your lowest ribs expand and contract. Feel for the diaphragm ballooning into the abdomen. Invite the whole rib cage to open. But don't try for 100% breath. Don't overfill to strain. Just invite a soft opening. The balloon doesn't have to be filled towards popping. See if you can surrender into the waves of breath. Ishvara Pranadhana. Can you stop working so hard and be breathed? Soften and open to the breath. And then step the feet wide, staying with this breath. Come into a cactus position with your arms, knees bending out over your second metatarsals. Exhale, pinkies together, cat curl the spine, and pause for a deep inhale. And then open the arms, lift the heart, root the feet. Inhale. Exhale the movement and inhale into the posture. Let the posture stretch you open. Just like the yamas and the niyamas can stretch you open. And open back to goddess pose. Root the feet and reach the hands skyward. Really reach each finger. And then draw the elbows back wide. And inhale, stretch. And exhale, open. And follow your own breath as you reach and release. Still feel for that three-dimensional breath, filling the torso, stretching you open. And on your next stretch skyward, straighten the legs. See if you can lift onto the balls of your feet, lifting the heels. And then relax the arms and turn the left foot open. Take the right heel back and open into your star pose, bending into Virabhadrasana 1 with the front knee. Remember, we never want the knee in front of the ankle, or we risk injuring the meniscus and the ACL. Inhale, palms up. Exhale, hands through the heart. Can you stay with your three-dimensional breath and still concentrate on your feet on earth, rooting you to the practice, not just the asana, the yamas, the niyamas, the breath, the concentration. Can this become a moving meditation? Rest your left hand on the femur, right arm alongside the ear. High Parsvottanasana. In here, breathe space and sky into the posture before you come lower, and keep maintaining that space, lengthening the spine. And exhale, turn heart towards earth, and inhale, lift the heart towards the heavens, and plant the four corners of your feet, feeling into the three arches. Inhale and exhale, and inhale and exhale. Fluid breath and movement, even in a posture, so that we learn not to become rigid. Can you surrender into the posture itself? Can you feel the form from the inside? Make sure that you haven't gone too deep into it, practicing ahimsa. And exhale, lift the pelvic floor, activate your core, float up into your dancing warrior, shoulders released from ears, fingers relaxed. Can you become the artist, and the shape of your posture? The sculptor, the clay, and the piece of art. Exhale, straightening the leg, come back up, lengthen the spine in your star pose. Root from the pelvis down and lean gently into your side bend. Feel from the pelvis up along the spine and feel how you're strengthening the length of your spine. I see so many people come down into Trikonasana and collapse their energy. Keep it long and open today. Build the strength in the torso. This strength grows out of your roots. From your pelvis, really press the four corners of each foot into the ground and float back up, turning in the left leg and out the right. Take the left heel a little farther back. This will help you internally rotate the back leg, keeping it in the pelvis instead of popping forward into the ligaments. Bend your right knee out over your ankle and turn your palms up and inhale. And exhale. Come back to the pranayama practice, feeling the breath fill the torso. Make sure your front knee is lined up over the second metatarsal. If the knee falls in or falls out of line, you risk pinching the side knee meniscus, compressing the cartilage. Inhale. Your arms back to Virabhadrasana 2 and rest here a moment. Feel into the truth of your pose. Where would you like to modify slightly? Is your back knee femur bone aligned over the tibia? Make sure you're not hyperextending. Bring the right hand to the front femur, the left arm alongside the ear, and breathe sky into the pose before you come lower. Keep the spine spacious as you exhale, heart towards the floor, and inhale, heart towards the heavens. And exhale, and inhale. And let the body move and stretch, even inside the pose. Study the pose and your reaction to the movement. The micro fine-tuning the body does to keep you in balance, and come back up, stretching the pose open from its center, and then use your exhale to activate the inner core and float up into your dancing warrior. Equal energy down from your pelvis to root both legs. Back knee, femur aligned with the tibia. You aren't hyperextending the knee. Front knee aligned over the second metatarsal. We study the pose, we fine tune the alignment, and come back up, straightening the front leg and lean the spine over into our Trikonasana. Again, don't work so hard that you hyperextend the knees. Root the four corners of each foot. It's not about how low you can go here. It's about how long you can shine the spine out of the pelvis. Really try to find that length on both side bodies. Build strength along the side spine. It's like doing a side plank. And exhale back up to standing. Turn the right leg in and step together and pause in your mountain pose. Breathe three-dimensionally into the body. Feel into the roots at your feet and lift your toes, lift your arches. Feel the big toe ball mounds and the pinky toe ball mounds, the inner and outer heel, the three arches. Inner arch, outer arch from pinky to outer heel, and arch from big toe to pinky toe. The cushions, the springs. Relax your toes. Let your feet gently settle onto earth, noticing the texture of your mat. Notice if your feet feel cinched together or tightened up. If they do, come to the ball mound and lengthen your heel back behind you. Come to the ball mounds of the other foot, lengthen the heel like a bird talon behind you. Have a longer foot to stand on. Now plug in your big toe ball mounds, rolling into the inner arch, and stretch across to the pinky toe ball mound, opening your transverse arch, and let your feet settle. Feel the earth, the hug of gravity. Now roll forward towards your toes and feel how your arches work, how your fascia works in the back body to keep you upright, and roll back, grounding the heel. Feel into the front body fascia, the front core working so you don't fall over. Come back to centered. Centered over the arch of your foot, just in front of the third of your foot that is your heel. Root the four corners of one foot and lift to one toe. Hug in the banks of your river and float your arms up. Turn the knee out, preparing for Vrksasana, tree pose. And perhaps you lift the foot to the calf. Perhaps you create a kickstand and put your heel against the foot and your toes still gently touch. Perhaps you bring the foot up to the inner thigh. Fluid breath wherever you are. Hug that centered channel of your spine. Breathe into the pose. And with curiosity, study how your body and mind respond to this balance work. Svadhyaya. And if balance is a challenge for you, how do we practice contentment with where we are as we're learning, like the child just learning to stand and walk? Fluid breath. Maybe the limbs blow in the breeze. Can you settle into your roots? Bringing the knee forward, step down, pause. Feel into the arches of both feet and how the standing foot was working. And float up to your next toe. Hug in the banks of your river from hip to hip and lengthen the spine up, rooting down into the standing leg. Turn your knee out and come into your chosen position. Arms floating. You can have them up even as far as being a spruce or a ponderosa pine. You could have them open like an oak or a maple, or even down like a weeping willow. You choose which tree, which expression, because you're the artist. You are the clay. You are the sculpture. Let your freedom move through the pose, so your limbs can blow in the wind if they like, or you can stand still on a quiet day. Fluid breath. This becomes a meditation practice, dhyana. Fluid breath. And then bring the knee forward and step down. And let's come into a round of sun salutations. Either bring your chair or your blocks forward. And we'll inhale and reach for the sky. And exhale, feel into the roots of your feet as you bend your knees straight out over your second metatarsals. The knees don't come together at center, or again, we risk misalignment of the knee. Fingertips touch our props, and we inhale, lift the heart. And exhale, step the left foot back, lowering the left heel. We inhale and lift the arms skyward. And exhale, float back down towards the front foot. And we inhale. And exhale, release the arms. Float the heart forward, humble warrior. Stay true to your feet, four corners. Make sure you're not collapsing into the inner arch of the back foot. It's a practice of concentration, dharana. A practice of self-study, svadhyaya. A practice of being content with perhaps not pushing to your 100%, taking care of your body, ahimsa. And then exhale, let your hands come back down to your props, whether it's the seat of your chair or your blocks on medium, and step back, plank. Roll gently over the toe box, opening the metatarsal arch. If that doesn't feel good in your feet, don't do it. If it does, we keep the joints of the feet fluid by moving them. The hinges we use don't rest. It's a Qigong saying. Now come forward and release the knees to the floor. Pick the feet up and stretch the heart up and forward. Stretch the chin skyward and jut the lower jaw in front of the upper jaw, stretching the throat. Breathe into the whole chakra line from root through throat to third eye and crown. Stretch the throat open. And exhale back towards your child's pose. If you're on the chair, back towards your high down dog. Lift the armpits up under the shoulders. Settle the pelvis back towards your heels and breathe deep into your low back. Exhale and relax the tension, stretching the body open. Inhale. Breathe deep into the low back. Exhale, relax long into the pose. And then float up onto hands and knees. Hands still on your chair or your blocks. Take your left block forward and your right knee forward and come back with your pelvis. Your hands can wrap over the seat of the chair, your left hand, or the front of your block as you traction that left side long and breathe space into it. Fluid breath into any tissue that feels tight. Imagine you're the gardener irrigating the soil, and the dry soil becomes moist and more open. And come back up, drawing the blocks and knees to neutral. Now take the right hand forward, the left knee forward, and come back. Stretching back from hand to hip on the right side. Breathe deep into the tissue. Fluid breath. Good morning, side body. I see you. I feel you. And come back up onto hands and knees and inhale your cow pose and pause. Taking tailbone away from crown of head. Feel along the length of your spine. In the front, stretching open. The sides, all the way through the neck into the skull, the back. And then exhale, navel up towards spine, spine towards sky. Press your hands away from your knees and breathe deep into the back body. Let the head release between the arms. Invite the breath to fill and lift. And then exhale, taking head and tail away from each other in the movement. Inhale into your cow. Let yourself pause, content with just feeling into the pose and fine-tuning it. Do you support the spine from beneath? Do you hunch the shoulders around the ears, or can you broaden them and lengthen the neck? Is there anywhere you're over-efforting? Feel into creating a balanced, beautiful pose. And then exhale, lift the navel, lift energy under the spine, make the spine a rainbow. Breathe into all the colors of the rainbow, from the bottom layer to the top. Can you be content to be here a moment, feeling into the body, saying good morning to the tissue that talks to you, saying good morning to the quiet tissue that doesn't speak, and come back to neutral. Roll your toes under and roll back into downward dog. Fluid breath. Step your left foot forward, lower your right heel, come up onto fingertips, and as you're ready, inhale, lift into your Virabhadrasana 1. Lift from the inner arch of the back foot up through the pelvic floor, lengthening the spine that you're waking up to. And exhale, bow towards your humble warrior. And inhale, lift the heart and stretch open. And exhale, bow to earth. And as you flow, can you feel into the four corners of each foot, the three arches, the sensitivity of your feet connected to the strength of your legs, the center at the pelvis, the stability of the lower body, allowing for the freedom of the upper body. Lift into your Vira 1, relax into the pose. Feel into whatever yama or niyama spoke to you today. And release back down to the blocks. Step back plank, rolling gently over the toes. Make sure that if anything, your pelvis is higher in a little bit of a pike rather than sagging. If being high in a full plank is challenging, come down to your knees. If you'd like a little more challenge, strong across your shoulder girdle, be strong and level with your pelvis and float one foot off. Fluid breath. Release the lifted foot and try the other side. Building strength and awareness through the practice of pratyahara, the inward gaze. Release the foot, come down to the knees and lift the heels and lift the heart and lift the chin. And bring the lower jaw in front of the upper jaw, opening throat chakra. And then exhale back, child's pose. Resting in child's pose, what is it you'd like to express to yourself? Rooting the hands, flow back up, rolling the toes under, and inhale, one leg up behind you, three-legged dog. This doesn't feel good, stay in downward dog. If that doesn't feel good, come back to tabletop. It's your practice. Release the lifted leg and lift the other side. Try to keep your pelvis in neutral, toes towards the floor, and find length from hands to heel of the lifted foot. And stepping down, step your feet towards your prop, heels aligned with sit bones, second metatarsals parallel. The knees come out straight over the second metatarsals, hands to the heart. Utkatasana, fierce pose. Can you find the shoulder blades on your back body and inhale length to your spine? And keeping the knees solidly forward, exhale and twist slightly one direction and inhale back to center and exhale, twist the other direction and inhale to center. Honor your own cycle of breath. Feel into the balance of the four corners of the feet, which will help you stabilize your knees, keeping them safe. Releasing to center, let go of the arms and let them swing. A lot of shoulder injuries come from impingement because we've sucked the humerus bone too tightly in towards the shoulder girdle. So see if you can let some space happen when there's an option to. And then inhale, reach for the sky, rooting the four corners of the feet, open the heart into your standing back bend. Root the four corners, lift your toes, lift your arches, relax your toes. Feel into earth as you open heart to sky. Feel into the practice. And exhale your hands to your hearts. Mountain pose. In healing Qigong, this is considered the healthiest position, where the blood and qi can flow easily through the body. Place your tongue on that center palate between the hard and soft palate, and let that point float back up over your heart, the heart center. Heart center floating up above the pelvic center. Fluid breath, we root down into the earth center. And allow the three-dimensional breath to expand you. Pranayama. Can your feet relax into feeling the floor? Can you balance the weight on each leg, on the four corners of each foot? Making sure your blocks aren't in your way. Step one foot lightly forward. Lift your wings and bend both knees. And keeping both feet on the floor, straighten the legs and bend them. And your back foot may turn out a little, and that's okay. But just make sure that knee is like a headlight tracking out over the second metatarsal. This is going to keep a balanced knee. We want a balanced knee. We inhale and exhale. And perhaps you inhale and lift the toe of the front leg, continuing to bend the back knee over the second metatarsal. We begin to strengthen the back knee. Fluid breath and fluid movement. Three-dimensional breath. And maybe the front toe lifts off and you work on balance, grounding through the four corners of your standing foot, following your own breath. Inhaling up and exhaling the release. Keeping the heart lifted towards the practice of your yamas and niyamas of choice. And land the floating foot and take the other foot forward and begin with both feet on the ground, looking down and checking in with both knees. Fluid breath. Think about the tracking of the knee from side to side. Many of us have a stronger side that pulls the kneecap out of alignment. So feel into tracking that knee. It's a practice. And then when you feel like, okay, I feel it's tracking well, I'm honoring the arches, the inner and outer arch. So I'm going to lift to a toe. And I'm going to lift the heart and practice my three-dimensional breath. And then when you're ready, you lift the toe. Fluid breath. Really listening to the body is the practice of svadhyaya. Inhaling and exhaling. Letting yourself be in a pose or with a movement for a while is the practice of santosha. I can be content here, studying this. And then come back down to standing tall. Relax the hands and the wrists and the elbows and the shoulders and the neck. Standing in relaxation can become the practice of ahimsa. Feel for your tibia, your main bone of the shin, aligning right over the talus of your ankle, and the femur bone aligning right over the tibia. That's the largest bone in your the large bone in your upper leg, your largest long bone in your body. From these leg bones, feel the pelvis sitting atop the femur. And from the pelvis, root down through this beautiful line of bone you've created to help you become a conduit of energy between earth and sky. Breathe space between the vertebrae and lift the heart, shoulder blades on the back body. Rest the center palate back over the heart center. Feel the balance of your energy side to side. The balance of your breath into the three dimensions of your torso. Svadhyaya, self-study. And again, reach for your blocks or your chair seat to come forward in Prasarita Padottanasana. Stepping your feet wide, take your heels a little wider than your toe box. You can, do this from sitting if you need to. Spread from big toe ball mound to pinky toe ball mound. Grounding inner and outer heel. Bring your hands to your pelvic rim and thumbs towards the back body. Press down into the pelvis and through the strength of the length of your aligned bones. And lift your heart. Lengthen the spine like you could create space between each vertebrae. We lift out of compression. Lift the shoulders. Lengthen the back body as well as the front body. Press down with the thumbs to lift the low back ribs, to lift the base of the skull. Float the heart skyward with a lift of the shoulder blades. And then fold forward, hollowing the groins. Keep the front spine long and reach down to your prop. Bring your wrists right under your shoulders at first and traction the pelvis back away from the shoulders, holding the shoulders firm over the wrists. Again, creating space in the spine. Check in that you haven't thrown the knees back into hyperextension, keeping femur aligned over tibia, over the arches of your feet. And then walk the block forward and leaning back. Take the pelvis back, tractioning out into your wide-legged downward dog. This is a wonderful place to practice your pranayama, your three-dimensional breath. Check in that you aren't rolling into the inner arch of the foot or out to the pinky toe side, that you're balancing your connection. Check in with the knees. Is there any way you could support them here? Fluid breath. Perhaps you sway a little side to stretch the fascia through the shoulders, through the side bodies, into the hips. It's your practice. Irrigate the tissue that needs to be irrigated. Maybe you bend the knees, and that helps you traction the pelvis back a little farther. Or maybe the left shoulder is tighter, so you lean to that side and traction. Fluid, three-dimensional breath, studying your own being, not trying to do the pose from the directions from the outside, but once you're here, coming into it to feel it for yourself. This is your practice. Ultimately, you're the guide. Draw your props back under you or walk your legs back in and place your left hand on your prop and float your right shoulder wing onto the rib cage. Root into the four corners of the feet and inhale, lift the right wing, tacking the left sit bone back. Stay true to the four corners of your feet. Stay true to the roots from your pelvis into earth, opening to sky. Exhale your lifted wing. Ground it to earth and float the left shoulder blade onto the back and rooting into the right arm. Lift the left, tacking the right sit bone back. Stay true to the arches of your feet. Don't over effort in the knees. And then let the breath expand you the way the yamas and niyamas can expand you. And release the lifted arm and bend the knees and hands to the pelvic rim. And step your feet together, mountain pose. Fluid breath. Rest the center palate back over the heart, over the pelvis. Broaden across your collarbones. Bring your hands up to face each other across your belly. I call this robot arms. Long from humerus to elbow. Imagine there's a wall behind you and press the whole length of that humerus bone back, opening across your collarbones. Broad shoulder blades on your back. Broad, press into the imaginary wall behind you. Root your heels to earth. Breathe from your roots up to an expanding heart. We are more than our to-do lists. We are that love that pulses through, that ananda. Check in with the alignment of your leg bones so that you're fully connected to the center of earth. Stretch the collarbones, humerus bones back. Feel how the rib cage and sternum stretch open for the heart. Ground your tailbone. Lift the base of the skull. Become a conduit of energy between earth and sky. Relax your arms, mountain pose. Now let's take this awareness to the floor. Please have your blocks or your bolster or both. You could also have a blanket roll if you don't have a bolster. You may want a blanket to cover up or a pillow. So interesting, it's getting into the 80s and 90s here right now, but I'm on a north-facing slope and I open the windows at night and it can be like 60 degrees in here in the morning. So I need a blanket to cover up. Bring your arm bones back again against the floor. Head of arm bone to elbow, humerus bones resting back, heels aligned with sit bones. And rock your pelvis, tailbone to earth and then tailbone towards sky, over accentuating your lumbar curve and then releasing it. Just rock. Now relax your arms open, palms up, thumbs out, so that you externally rotate from the head of the arm bone. Fluid breath. And come into your neutral spine. And if your lumbar spine in neutral is flat enough that it's touching the floor, bring a folded blanket in under your sacrum. If not, exhale. Float one shin parallel to the floor and float the foot back down, landing the four corners light as a feather. And float the next foot up. And float it down, landing the four corners light. And as you exhale the next side up, when you inhale back down, only land 80% of the foot's weight. And exhale, float up the next side. And as you inhale back down, feel your footprint land at 80%. And exhale the next side up. And as you land, only land 70%. And exhale the other side back up and land 70%. And we begin to play with what is a percentage of effort. Land only 60% of the weight. It's not equivalent to the effort here, I guess. But land 60% of the weight and feel how your core is having to work a little harder as you don't put as much weight from your foot on the floor. See if your shoulder girdle can stay open and the heads of your arm bones release back so that you actually do the work at your core from low ribs through to inner thighs. And now float one leg up to tabletop and the other to join it. And bring your hands to the front of your femurs, fingertips pointing up, and press your hands into the femur bones and draw the femur bones towards your chest and feel the center core awakening. This is core work, the work of our third chakra. We're supporting our will, our intention to practice whichever yama or niyama we chose to practice the 8 limbs of yoga. Ashtanga. Draw your right knee in towards your chest and lengthen the left leg out at a 45-degree angle. Left hand on the knee, right hand on the ankle. Help us keep the shin aligned. It's always the outside hand on the ankle, and we switch and switch and switch. We may nod nose towards mouth. We may almost lift the head from the hairline, not the chin, waking up our front neck flexors. These two are a part of our core system. We may float the head up, lengthening from pelvis through crown chakra, stretching the legs long as if we're pushing a button with the toe. If we don't get to full extension, we don't wake up the vastus medialis, the inner quad. This can be a problem for tracking the kneecap. So we practice lengthening the leg, even if that means we lift the feet higher to the sky. And draw both knees into the chest And lift both hands and feet towards the sky. Zip up the inline of the foot, press the heels together, and take wrists away from ankles. Keep your neutral lumbar curve. Only go as far as you can support it. Circle the arms and hug the knees in. And inhale, stretch out, and exhale, come in. And feel how you're strengthening that center core, that will to practice. We inhale and exhale, and inhale and exhale. And one more time, reach and come back in. And lengthen your right leg overhead. Let your left leg go long down the mat and point and flex your feet. And feel the fascia of the legs stretch and how it's all interconnected. Shoulder girdle broad, switch feet and flex and point and flex and point. We're in an upside down Parsvottanasana. And then pause here for a moment, gently point the toes and pulse the legs just 2 inches in movement. It's just a little pulse, pulse, and then switch the scissor. Pulse, pulse, and switch. We're practicing more precise awareness of where our body is in space. Shoulder girdle stays broad. We're working the core system as we move these large leg bones. Flex the feet and pulse, pulse. Feel the stretch in the calf or the back of the knee, balancing the fascial network so that the knee is pulled evenly. Pulse, 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 pulse. Bring the feet together and bend the knees. And float one foot lightly to the floor and then the other. And rock tailbone towards earth and tailbone towards sky. And you rest into this gentle rocking and be here in this moment, Santosha. And bring the right ankle up over the left knee, flexing the right foot to protect the knee. Lift the legs in towards the torso. Perhaps you only want to go as far as resting a foot on the block. Perhaps you want to draw in with hands around the left shin. Perhaps you want to rock the pelvis slightly back and forth, finding the hip stretch you'd like to settle into. Breathe deep into the stretch to irrigate the tissue, and notice if you can relax into the stretch. If not, you've come too far. Practice ahimsa, nonviolence in the body. Come to a position where you can relax into the stretch. Relax the shoulders and the jaw and the eyes. Can you meet your body wherever it is today? Can you love your body wherever it is today? Exhale, release the left foot to the ground and then the right foot from the femur and switch sides, allowing the left knee to open. Flex the left foot, which will keep you from sickling and overstretching the lateral collateral ligament on the outside of your knee. Exhale, draw the legs towards you. Notice any differences side to side as you gently sway the legs back and forth. Find the stretch you want to settle into and stay with the three-dimensional breath. Gaze inward, the practice of pratyahara. Concentrating on releasing into the stretch, dharana. surrendering to this moment, Ishvara Pranadhana. And then exhale, release right foot and then left foot to protect the left knee. And now come into your somatic walking, pressing one foot into the floor and lifting that same side hip, gently rocking the pelvis side to side. The knees still reach straight out over the second and third metatarsals. So we're not coming into a twist just yet. The arms can relax out to your sides, palms up, so that you practice the external rotation of the head of your arm bone. The release of the head of the arm bone back. Many of us hunch over things during the day. This is an opportunity to unfurl the thoracic spine and to open the pectoralis minor, which gets tight forward when we hunch forward. Breathe into opening across the front chest and grounding the upper body, the head, as the spine rocks fluid. And we release small muscles that connect the vertebrae to one another. And then come back to center and walk your feet as wide as your mat. If you'd like to, take your arms overhead and allow the knees to rest out to the left. Stretch from right knee through the right side body, all the way through the right pelvis and spine. Invite the breath into where you find tightness and see if you can relax, open. You are the artist. You are the clay. You are the sculpture. Your tapas doesn't always have to be fiery with effort. It can be fiery with the desire to open, to release. Exhale, knees back to center and take them the other way, stretching the left side from knee through pelvis, up the spine, through the arm. Fluid breath. Can you be content with studying yourself here? Santosha and Svadhyaya. And then release the legs back to neutral. The head from a pillow, if you have one, and float the pelvis skyward. And gently hug the sit bones in towards one another, lifting the pelvis, and then release the buttocks and roll the spine down one vertebrae at a time. Release into your neutral lumbar curve and bring your bolster in under your knees for a simple shavasana. If you'd prefer a different shavasana, then go ahead and take that. It's your practice. Fluid breath. Nest yourself, cover yourself up. Make yourself comfortable for the most important part of the practice, the surrender into shavasana, into integrative stillness. As we rise back out of Shavasana, see if for a moment you can surrender into your own awareness. And then gently move fingers and toes. Let the awareness expand. Take you in as you slowly move and stretch. And gently roll yourselves over, coming back to your comfortable seat. Can we pause here where we started? Turning the gaze inward, pratyahara. And feeling the breath, pranayama. Inviting awareness of the yamas and niyamas we practiced today. Let's inhale our hands to our hearts. And remember our depths. Namaste. Thank you for coming to class.